Hello, people of YouTube. So, new bike day for me. Anyone's watched me ride, I typically ride a Yeti SP150. It's the end of the season, racing is done, so I decided to try out something new. And what I've got here is a 2019 Orbea Rallon. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right or not. Not entirely sure. I'm not Spanish, but today's the first day and we're gonna give her a rip. Okay, so I'll say the bike locked out feels really stiff. Kind of almost like a hardtail. So we'll see how it does for these next couple sections. Man, this thing really feels locked out. So 150, 160 bike, factory in the rear, DPX2, Fox 36 performance up front. And overall, I mean, comparison to my Yeti, I definitely feel, you know, a little less slack. You guys didn't really get to see up behind me, a little downhill, just got to kind of test it out. Wow, was the compression sent fast. Bad. So we set it back to the base, did like 8 clicks in, and now we're gonna descend the whole rest of this thing. Has some minor punchy climbs. I'm gonna leave the suspension fully open just to kind of see what it feels like. Again, I've never ridden this bike, so I can just compare it to kind of what I have ridden. And at this point, I can't really compare it to anything. I'm gonna have to ride it and see kind of how it does. So we're gonna give it a go. I'm probably gonna give it probably 70%, just because it's not frame wrapped. Suspension isn't set perfect. I did put some air in the forks, but let's give it a go. So very playful. I think it's a little shorter than my Yeti for sure. We'll see how it feels at speed. Narrower bars. These got to be in the 740 range. I usually run a 780. So feels unique. Very light, very playful. I think putting a 175 mil post on this thing would do it nothing but a ton of fun. So we're gonna hike up here and descend into this, and based on the suspension travel, I think we're doing pretty good overall. So the number one thing I noticed is this really short dropper post. I mean, like 125 for an enduro rig isn't too good in the great scheme of it, if I'm just being honest. Very sandy, sweepy corners here. Overall though, the bike just feels very playful. bike corners really well. Corners pretty well though, like very flowy. Feels very planted. We're definitely gonna do head stem kit, slack her out a little bit, but I really like it as of right now. Stays pretty on point where it needs to be. So again, some of my impressions. We didn't use all the travel, so set up pretty well. I think compression settings are still to be messed with, maybe a few PSI here and there. I'm no pro, I mess with it all the time. Definitely trying to figure it out though. Other than that, the bike feels really good. I had a 9er Rip RDO probably like a month before this with my Yeti, and what I noticed about that bike is 150% more trail oriented than my Yeti, definitely than this bike. I would say this is definitely more my cup of tea for an enduro bike. I definitely think we're gonna up the rear. I mean, like I said, this is a 2019, so I think it's 150 or 160. I want to run whatever the latest stuff is, so I'll check out that kit. Other than that, really do think this is a very suitable enduro bike. I want to ride the Ibis Ritmo. That's kind of next on my list. I was trying to trade my Yeti for one of those or this, but I actually found the right buyer here locally in Colorado, and he purchased it, and this bike was local, and I went and picked it up the next day. Definitely confirmed. The Orbea Rallon, or however you pronounce it, climbs as good as any other bike in that class, as well as my SP150, you name it. So we're gonna... Okay, so after a good sweaty ride, some of my impressions on that bike. I would say overall, it pedals very well. It's efficient, there's not any pedal bob, and wow, when you lock that thing out, it does feel like a hardtail. On the way down, I don't know if it's because it's not quite as long as my Yeti is. I'll have to look up the measurements, or my Yeti was, sorry, I no longer own that bike. But for some reason, steering with the rear end on this bike when things get steep or I gotta really hit it into berms, even on the first ride, the confidence felt really good. Not to say it was perfect, I didn't want to hit any crazy drops or anything like that. I don't have my bar set up right. Not to say, that's just me being overly cautious.